Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Thursday, the 31st of August. Okay, looking at the euro dollar first, and well, we put a pivot swing in yesterday, so we followed through. On some brokers, we've already touched a weekly pivot now. We could get a bit of a bounce off that with such a solid down move yesterday, but possibly some continuation from this level at some point, but looking at as we run through the time frames, it's been pretty sharp off. I would expect it with the daily pivot being above us and pretty close to us, so I'd expect to bounce back towards that sort of zone which we're doing right now. Now with this particular broker feed I'm using here on eSignal, it hasn't quite caught the daily pivot, but weekly pivot, but it has on others, so seeing a bit of bounce, and it may be subject to what happens with that daily pivot that we may be able to get a short position back south within the trend of what's going on, and that's probably what I'll be looking at. Not sure post 8 o'clock whether there'll be enough meat on the bone for the daily pivot itself, but we'll see how things work out from there. But certainly at the moment I'm expecting it to at least pop up to there. If it breaks through, may overrun and somewhat towards the 60-minute 50. But either way, at the moment with the pattern and everything else, I'm more bearish than bullish. Okay, cable fell short of its weekly pivot yesterday. It's a real bitty old price action on the dailies here. We've got doji, shooting star, doji. It's a mess. It's still giving some points intraday, but hanging on for the weekly pivot yesterday wouldn't have fulfilled your dreams, but it may still come to be yet. Looking from the 4 hour, it's pitchy, as I say. It says even on there, you can see from when you come down to the alley how choppy it's been. Now, a break of the daily pivot may still see us ride at some point down towards that weekly pivot. Maybe it's just not on. It's held up a little bit stronger than the euro has, but again, it never pulled away the same as euro did in the first place. So in the early part of the week, so it's slow. Potential maybe if it starts breaking that 60-minute 100, maybe that may be a bit of a signal. Just got to be a bit careful. There's lots of there was demand around this area previously. It's a bit pitted. There's a sort of a region of demand where traders, algos or whatever it may have been, were pitching in with buy orders each time, and it pushed it back up. And yesterday morning, afternoon, it didn't do too. There was the initial news move, but then it's pulled back into the zone. So wary. Now this may follow euro first thing this morning, and in which case we may see it running up towards the R1. Again, I'm still erring towards the bearish side on it with a weekly pivot below, but not from here is the answer. I need it to start giving me more of a signal. Dollar yen. Dollar yen still hasn't caught the monthly pivot. It's pushing in that direction. It's had a good couple of days. As I said yesterday, it fully engulfed the previous week on Tuesday's price action. Well, Wednesday pushed into the 34. Today we're seeing it continue in this route, and it may well continue in that route for some time yet. However, it's for in the short term here. We've got the daily pivot below us. We missed it yesterday. We can miss it twice on a row, but we'll see how it runs. I'd prefer to be buying off a pivot and trading it long from that sort of direction. And for some of the people that are looking to try and get into it, that might be an option. And that still hasn't even come back to 60-21s, which is rare. It's just stayed there. It's consolidated, pushed up, consolidated, pushed up. Maybe it may just get back to 21s, and this time find a reaction from the 21 as opposed to trailing along at 60-minute 8. Still relatively bullish there. There are signs maybe of just looking at the RSI here, gradually weakening every time it's made it. There's a bit sort of divergence running across those highs, which may just see it come back a little bit more. Okay, that's the yen, Aussie dollar. Aussie dollar of late is been quite chop. Overall, from a daily perspective, it's not one that you want to be trying to swing trade at the moment. Maybe it's struggling, um, chopping along. I must admit, earlier in the week, I looked at what was happening. I thought, well, maybe once it cleared the weekly pivot out, maybe it's going to trend upwards. But it too sold off yesterday and is chopping where we are at the moment. There's a potential here for it to pull back towards the daily pivot. Um, Minor divergence, arguably, towards these lows here, so there is that potential, as I say, for it to come back there. Yeah, not a lot else to say on the Aussie dollar. Canadian dollar, again, one which was well overdue, some sort of retracement. It pulled back to almost the prior lows there. It's expected. I expected it to come back, maybe even hit those last week when I was doing a review. This week I missed out on the weekly review, but from a daily perspective at the moment, it looks like, well, could be on for that daily 50, maybe some more. Of course, short term, it's getting a bit pitchy here. Betting, yeah, it's just got a bit overbought on this sort of short term, which may see it just retrace at least back to the 8, maybe the 21, depending how strong we're running here. It has got the daily pivot below. There is a bit of divergence, or has been a bit of divergence. It may be worn off a little bit here, but around this level. So a break of the 60-minute 8 may be a sort of a signal that it's weakening. It may at least come back to the 21s there. 60-21s may pull back a little bit further. But really would prefer to be on the long side at some point. So maybe just patience and wait for the long side, or a setting or trade set up for the long side, but not from where it is now. Okay, that's pretty much that from the technicals. So from a fundamental point of view, this morning we've got an MPC speaker at 8:25 for the UK, due to speak at Park Plaza in Cardiff. God, he's going up in the world. Not too sure what he's speaking about, but he's speaking. So that's at 8:25. So we could get some volatility on the pound around about there. Later on, we've got the CPI flash estimates for the Euro zone. Can create a bit of volatility here. We've had the German data out yesterday, so I'd be watching for that. That may, as I say, give the Euro a bit of a kick around 10. So bear that in mind. Canadian GDP at 130, that's a monthly figure. It's not that important in real terms. It doesn't really give a great deal of movement, but can give a smaller kicker. And US unemployment claims, again, it's a weekly figure, so I'm not interested. Just running through here, but there is the personal consumption at 130 US as well, and personal spending. They may, although they're rated a bit lower, they may give the market some volatility. 1 for 30. Not so interested in Chicago PMI or the pending home sales. They're small fry in relative price movement. That's it for me. Have a great day. Bye for now.